Coming up on Hoosier Sports Night, women's basketball falls to another top 5 opponent at home.
And men's tennis starts their season off on a high note with 2 wins over the weekend. This is Hoosier Sports Night. Hello and welcome to Hoosier Sports Night. I'm Adam Oppenheim.
And I'm Gigi Welp.
Gigi, the spring sports are getting going, but this weather sure is freezing.
It may be spring sports season, but it does not feel like spring.
We're going to start with Indiana women's basketball as they fell in a close call at home against number 4 USC and Juju Watkins on Sunday. Our Kelsey Dennehy has more.
For the second time in 2025, Indiana fell short to a top 5 opponent in number 4 USC, 73-66 in Assembly Hall on Sunday.
We can't just get up for the big ones. We got to be up for all of them because they're all so hard to win, and they know that.
Yeah, it's definitely a bitter feeling when, especially when you're in Assembly Hall at your home court and you just can't close and finish hard games.
Similar woes that plagued the Hoosiers in their first 5 losses came to light again against the Trojans. Indiana surrendered 15 balls, giving USC 17 of its points in the win.
Because we had been trying to run good offense and really trying to put pressure on them to have to force them to, run action, forcing them to have to guard action, and then we just, turn it over on a reversal, turn it over on an entry pass, and both of those end up in, runouts.
By the fourth quarter, Chloe Moore McNeil, Caroline Striplin, and Lexis Bargesser all had 4 fouls apiece. The Trojans went 21 for 24 from the free throw line.
When you look at how they scored, it doesn't seem that overwhelming. And then you look at the free throws, and that's the game right there.
Such a hard player to guard simply because she can draw those fouls and get to the line at will, When in games when she is, getting into us and we're trying to be vertical and the refs are calling it, there's not much we can do on our end.
Just like in their loss to UCLA, the Hoosiers failed to convert on open threes, only shooting 27.6% from deep.
We just got to hit shots. It's that easy. If that's the lesson we got to learn, I mean, I think we got some really good ones. We just didn't hit them. Sid Parrish got some really good looks. Yarden got some really good looks. Same with UCLA. We look back and we're like, we hit a couple more shots and we win this game.
It'll take every one of us being able to withhold our confidence and not letting that fall. It'll also take, the people surrounding the others that are feeling that lack of confidence in their shooting game right now to keep each other up.
Indiana will travel to the West Coast for a pair of games against Oregon and Washington starting on Friday. From Assembly Hall, I'm Kelsey Dennehy, IUSTV Sports.
Indiana begins their West Coast trip with a visit to the Oregon Ducks on Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern.
The women's tennis team took down the Cincinnati Bearcats this past Sunday. Our Drew Forge has the latest.
With a new season kicking off, also means a new era for Indiana women's tennis. Head coach Gabrielle Moore kicked off her Hoosier debut with a win, beating the Cincinnati Bearcats 6-1.
A lot of emotions, very happy. Obviously, I think we've been working really hard this past fall to have this moment with each other, and the girls came out, what I told them is, they came out and competed hard through doubles and singles, and they had good energy.
We started out with really good energy in doubles, and that carried on to singles. Our freshmen really showed up today, so I was really excited about that.
One of Indiana's biggest priorities this season is to build a winning culture among the players.
I think that, we've tried to dedicate ourselves to just being 1% better every day. So, we have our little goals, our individual goals, and our team goals, but I think over time our culture has gotten better. I think their mindset has gotten better, but definitely there's never not room for improvement.
One of the big stars from today was sophomore Elizabeth Dunac. As she won her match in 3 sets, Dunac lost the first set, but was able to rebound, winning the next 2. She really showcased her off-season training with this win.
I actually felt way more stressed than I do now. It helps that I've had a season under my belt.
We just take it one day at a time, 1% better every day.
Hoosiers will be back in action this Sunday to take on the Butler Bulldogs in Bloomington. From Indiana University Tennis Center, I'm Drew Furch, IUSTV Sports.
Moving from the women to the men, the men's tennis team hosted a doubleheader to kick off their spring season this past weekend. Our Jack Kapik has the recap.
The Indiana Hoosiers started their season off in dominating fashion, winning both games of their doubleheader against Cleveland State and Ball State.
We played 2 matches. We don't always do that. We've had a pretty long break since the last tournament, and then having to come out and get going right away against 2 pretty good teams, wasn't easy. So I thought we did an awesome job this morning, stepping up and taking care of business.
The Hoosiers were able to steal a doubles point during the Cleveland State game, and then were able to sweep singles, winning 7-0. Facundo Yunus played a great game today and was able to win both his doubles and singles point.
I felt personally pretty good. I think I played 2 good matches, got off the court quick, which is always nice. So it's nice starting the season, and overall I think we're a pretty young team, and especially the new guys, I think that they did pretty well. So I'm excited to see what's going to come. And yeah, it was close today. Then the second match was close. Maybe shouldn't have been as close, but we're happy to get the win, and we can just improve from here for sure.
With a 2-0 start, the Hoosiers look forward to what should be a promising season. For IUSTV Sports, I'm Jack Kappick here at the IU Tennis Center.
Coming up after the break, we crown this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week.
And we'll tell you a story about Anitra House, Mike Woodson's assistant to the head coach. Welcome back to Hoosier Sports Night.
Joining us in studio for this week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete is IUSTV sports reporter Caleb Robbins.
Thanks, guys. This week's Hoosier Highlight Athlete of the Week is IU men's basketball player Luke Goody. After a pair of 25-point losses, Goody and the Hoosiers got back in the win column by way of a 77-76 victory against Ohio State at the Schottenstein Center in Columbus, Ohio. The Illinois transfer led all scorers with a career-high 23 points, while shooting an efficient 57% from beyond the arc. Goody played his best when it mattered most, scoring 16 of those 23 points in the second half and in overtime, leading to his game-winning three-pointer with just over a minute remaining. Goody and the Hoosiers will continue conference play on Wednesday night as they take on the Northwestern Wildcats in Evanston. That's all for this week's Hoosier Highlight. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Caleb. While the men's basketball team battles through the midst of Big Ten play, there's one person in particular on Mike Woodson's staff who many may not know. Our Kara Adams sat down with Anitra House, Coach Woodson's assistant to the head coach.
In 1980, when Mike Woodson was a senior at Indiana University, before he was the head coach, he was a student athlete. And like all student athletes, in need of a little guidance.
He was very polite, very reserved. He probably said 15 words the whole first semester that I worked with him. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, that kind of thing.
But on senior night, Mike Woodson had one person in particular to thank, his tutor, Anitra House.
Coach Knight's support of education made it easy to be a tutor because he demanded that the student athletes pay attention to their studies and their academic progress.
Coach Woodson was the first person in his family to receive a college degree, but that quiet 18-year-old Anitra House first knew took a little while to open up.
I believe that you have to understand the individual. Everybody learns in a unique way, and you need to understand how people process information to be, effective at helping them.
And once she understood a little more about Coach Woodson and his life,
I'm not a pushy person, so I just tried to get to know him. It also helped that he had a girlfriend who's now his wife of many, many years, and she was a very eager student and loved to learn. So I found out quickly that they were a package deal. In other words, I didn't have a problem if she came to his tutoring sessions. I just wanted him to come to tutoring sessions, and if the girlfriend came along and that made him come, that's fine with me.
Coach Woodson had the support he needed, but ultimately,
Michael had to do it. I just kind of opened the door and gave him a way to do it.
And if you know anything about Mike Woodson,
he's got the loyalty gene. And then I think his family has always been very loyal and supportive too. And so it got reinforced. and loyalty means a lot to him. And he expects it of others, but he also demonstrates it.
So when Mike Woodson was hired as Indiana's 30th head basketball coach, it only made sense for him that Anitra would be his first hire.
If I could help him achieve his goal, then I wanted to do that.
So while Miss Anitra takes care of Coach's correspondence, emails, letters, and his calendar, she'll always be grateful to see him.
It's really nice for me to have seen him as a player and a student and now watch him as a coach.
But one of her fondest memories of him as a player,
I thought it was really something of him to decide that he was going to take me to dinner no matter what, even when his other siblings were ready, to celebrate and party and, celebrate his graduation. And I think that shows you who Michael is. If I did have a child, I wouldn't mind that child ended up being like Mike Woodson.
And that quiet 18-year-old found his voice with the help of Anitra House.
Indiana dropped another one on the road against Northwestern last night and will play Maryland in Assembly Hall on Sunday at noon.
Indiana track and field had a successful invitational this past weekend with 22 event wins. For the men's team, Garrett Messer had a personal best of 5,174 points to win the heptathlon. John Colquitt took the win in the 60-meter hurdles, crossing the finish line with an 8.10. The men's team snagged the top 3 spots in the 60-meter. Trey Lee Banks Rose coming in first with a 6.75, Tamar Saleh with 6.76, and Nova Onowero Soke with a 6.94. On the women's side, Caitlin Henselmeyer topped the leaderboard in the 400-meter. Michaela Hunter took the win in the women's shot put, while Hannah Alexander came in second place. Both the men's and women's team topped the leaderboard for the 800-meter. Aiden Lord with a 1-minute 50.31 and Amelia Dobbs ran a 2-minute 9.11. Indiana track and field will travel to Boston for the John Thomas Terrier Classic this upcoming Friday.
While it is quite cold here in Bloomington, the IU women's golf team started their season hot with a win in Naples, Florida. A tri-match between IU, Kentucky, and Louisville ended in victory for the Hoosiers on Monday. The team finished at an even 300, with redshirt senior Caroline Smith leading the way. Smith finished with an excellent 1 under par, earning herself an individual medal for the event. Smith and the Hoosiers will look to build on this early season success when they travel to Orlando to compete in the UCF Challenge.
Joining us now in studio with the Candy Stripe Calendar Report is IUSTV sports reporter Grace Jeffer. Grace?
Thanks, guys. It's great to be back in Bloomington, so let's take a look at this upcoming sports weekend. To dive right in, men's and women's swimming and diving travels to West Lafayette to take on rival Purdue. Up in East Lansing, wrestling will face the Michigan State Spartans at 7. Women's basketball looks to secure their 13th win of the season in an away game against Oregon. This is only the 3rd time the two teams have ever faced each other. Tip-off is set for 9. Water polo begins their season as they host Cal State Northridge at 9:30, followed by Salem at 12:30. The Hoosiers are currently ranked 11th in the preseason. Water polo continues their busy opening weekend Sunday against UC Santa Barbara at 8. They finish by going head-to-head with McKendree at 12:30. At noon, men's basketball is back in Bloomington, where they host the Maryland Terrapins. Women's tennis follows up last week's win as they play Butler at 10 and Southern Indiana at 2. Wrestling takes another trip up north to face number 18 Michigan at 2. That's all for this week's Candy Stripe Calendar. Back to you at the desk.
And that's our show for the week. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at IUSTV Sports to keep up with all the latest in IU athletics. For our production crew behind us, I'm Gigi Welp.
And I'm Adam Oppenheim. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching IUSTV Sports. Be sure to subscribe at IUSTV and follow us on Instagram and X at IUSTV Sports.